Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Untitled Unofficial FWA podcast. Episode 18 suitably for Back in Business 18 because that is what we're going to be looking at during this episode and the next few episodes hopefully. Because tonight's podcast is going to focus on the first half of night one in the big weekend extravaganza of FWA shows that we have just had. And I'm not alone on this odyssey of FWA. I'm joined by Tommy, long-term friend of the pod. Hello, Tommy.
Howdy, y'all.
Howdy indeed. And first time on the Untitled FWA pod is Willis. Good evening, Willis.
Hey, what it is, guys? What it do?
All right, nice to have you both here with me, and we're going to dive right into it. So we've got a few of these planned over the next a few days with different guests on each of the evenings. So four of them in total, but we'll see how we go, because looking at the history of these pods, I can see part one of 3 Cyrus Truth pods that was uploaded a year ago without part 2 or part 3. So we'll see if this adventure is more successful. All right, so back in business. What were your overall thoughts on the weekend, Tommy? Favorite moments, favorite match? I know that we're focusing just on those four matches tonight, but feel free at the start of this to speak more like generally about the show and your thoughts of it.
Obviously, the easy answer on favorite match was, Crash and Best. Another round of that. And the madness, but I loved the tag match for the end of night one. I am a long-time sucker for tag team wrestling. So, whether it's on TV or in an e-fed, I always enjoy that. And I did not grade the tag match, but after I saw the numbers that those things were getting, I was like, man, I've got to go read those. And I took an evening, and it took an evening to read them both.
Did you agree with the numbers after you'd read them?
I did. I mean, it was ridiculously close. But
who would you have gone for in the tag match if you would have graded it?
I think we got it right. I do.
Okay.
It would have been tight, but I think at the end that was the right call. But I mean, literally by fractions of a point. I've been around since I think June of 2021, and that was 2 of the best promos I've ever read.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. Actually, is this your third back in business or 4th back in business?
I think it's actually just the second one that I've been on the card.
Okay.
Just with kind of early on dipping in and out. But yeah.
Well, you made up for it with multiple appearances on this one.
Yeah, I did the same thing last year. I just kind of roll in and hijack the show.
To move to Willis, what were your overall impressions of the show? Your favorite match on the show?
I mean, because this is my first back in business. I mean, I hate to be a sucker, but that opening match was just something that like it catches you off guard, especially coming from me, who's not really familiar with FWA lore. And when I'm in the Discord and they're telling me the program between Summers and MVH, I was getting excited for that match. And then when I read it, and then quickly I scrolled past, and I saw like the match was only a minute long, and I'm just like, wait, this is a lot of words for a match that's only a minute and something long. What's going on here? And when you read it, and it's like anyone who like just watches the match will think, oh, it was a squash, but it really wasn't. It's a whole story that goes into the match, and then the match ends how it should, because they pretty much killed each other before the bell rung. So I think that, because I just didn't see that coming. Like I expected like a classic between the two, because I like both of your works, but to see it play out like that, where it's like, oh, okay, like this is this is like next level. Like these two hate each other. Like I like this.
I actually thought reading that if anybody just skimmed through and went to the boxes on the forum to read the match part, it would be like, what happened? It's like,
Yeah.
It's 1 minute and 52 seconds.
For sure. Tig mentioned a match between Michelle and Thomas West, which was like 30 seconds long. He said it was like that, but not quite like that. But it was more like and deliberately like a match between Devin Golden and Aleister Black at the anniversary show like 3 or 4 years ago, which had a similar brawl and then finished in a very short amount of time. So it's kind of a little nod to that from Raw and the Golden one. Tommy, you graded this match. Talk a little bit about the two promos in this match, if you can remember when you read them 2 weeks ago.
Oh, God.
Well, I actually read Sean Summers today. It was the last promo that I had to read. It was like a fitting ending to his Summer Renaissance series that he's been doing kind of outside of...
I was drawn to that one because the Summer's Renaissance thing kind of started, if you recall, last year at Back in Business when he did the press conference.
Yeah.
After the him and Tommy match, and he's leaving and he's done, and Tommy was going to be the grand hero, and then of course screw all that. But I felt like, from CBK's point of view on that, he did an incredible job of turning what happened at Back in Business last year, and then, over the course of the last 12 months, he's dropped, part 1 and part 2 and all this stuff of what's been going on with Sean Summers. And then I feel like the promo that he posted for this one just tied everything up.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
Beautifully.
Yeah,
So now we're going to get the next chapter of what's going on with Sean Summers. And I don't know, I mentioned it in the Discord the other day. If Summers ever needs a tag team partner, there might be somebody who he used to hate hanging around.
That was going to be my next question. What do you think is next for Sean Summers? Because obviously Trevor Ocean has the Golden Opportunity match at the anniversary show in a couple of cycles' time. Where do you think this leaves Sean Summers?
I absolutely want to see him, from a character and a handler standpoint. I want to see either I think a Summers Truth feud for the NA title would be a blast. Spoiler for those of you who haven't read the NA title match. Sure to God, by the time this thing gets posted, everybody should know the results. I think that could be a lot of fun, especially when you look at characters like that, both who are, the character respects the business. Cyrus Truth respects the business. Sean Summers, for all of his despicableness, respects the business. I think that would be cool. I think Sean Summers, Jeremy Best, I know they're both heels, whatever, but those characters I think can play off each other. And I would like to see him in kind of that part of the card.
Okay. Willis, you had something to say there, I think.
Yeah, I guess for what I would like to see next for Summers is 2 words, like 3 words: run it back, rematch. You know what I'm saying?
Run it again.
Interesting.
Like I don't know how you guys feel about rematches here in the FWA, but I feel like if the story tells itself, and I feel like this one kind of does, just the way how it started, and maybe we can get a full match in the ring.
Well, there has been obviously discussions between CBK and myself on that, but I won't say which way it's gone so far. I can see what you're saying about the story leading itself to another match, maybe, but I also kind of think when reading the Summer Renaissance, like whilst reading that, it could either be like the start of a second, chapter, or it could be kind of like the end and like the epilogue of Sean Summers' career. And whilst reading it, it kind of feels more like the second thing. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see. But I really loved this finishing chapter for Summer Renaissance. I really like the father figure character with the police officer, and kind of like Sean Summers constantly saying he doesn't want the match. He can't like get the energy or the enthusiasm to do this match. Whereas at the same time, he's like hallucinating Michelle almost, or like seeing visions of Michelle wherever he goes. Which is kind of like obviously a conflict there between what he's projecting and what he's actually thinking. I thought it was a really good promo. It was the 7th highest graded promo of the match, of the show, sorry, of the whole weekend. According to the grades that I just posted this afternoon, but not quite good enough, I'm afraid. MVH gets the win in just under 2 minutes, and that is the end of the first match of Back in Business. And then moving on to what many of the guests on this podcast saw, at least, as the real main event of Back in Business. The second match between Tommy Bedlam and Brooklyn Steiner. Did you guys work on this match together? Is that right?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Okay. Well, why don't you talk us through this match? So it's a unsanctioned, backstage brawl. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Talk us through the match. Who wrote what? The finish has. I think it has. Here we go. Okay, so it's.
I think when it comes to match, I obviously this is the first match I ever wrote for the company, but Tommy can vouch. I don't think I can imagine anyone putting together a match the way we put together that match. Like, we had a checklist chart of all the spots we wanted to get done and how we got there, and when we typed it up, we checked off like, okay, the first spot was the first 2 spots for Tommy's. He did it. He checked it off. Then I did mine, and I did it, and I checked it off. And it was the challenge of the match was trying to take all these spots and all these crazy ideas that we had, and how do we sequence? How do we get from the brawl with the taxi cab to the entrance ramp, to Brooklyn Steiner on top of the entrance ramp, to the stretcher, to now we're in the ring, and then to the handcuffs, and then to the finale when he almost turned me into the Human Torch. So it was a lot of steps, and getting to each step was probably the most fun I've had since I've been here.
Yeah. So sorry, the fire spot reminded me when I first read it of their Jungle Boy spot in the recent AEW. And I wondered if Tommy had snuck that past you. You're a famous WWE fan, Willis. I didn't know if you let him slip that into the match, or what happened there.
Because we were trying to figure out the finish, because it's an unsanctioned match, so there's no referee, there's no one's counting. There's it's not like, how does this end? So when he came up with a genius idea of like, well, whoever wins the match is about to light the other opponent on fire. And then Rushno will come out and plead him not to, and then that would, like, the match would stop. Like, people were like, all right, this is enough. You guys are trying to kill each other. Like, this is insane. But just stop it. And then I feel like that was a logical step to get to that goal.
Yeah, it was a good ending, really effective ending. Tommy, what were your thoughts on working on this match?
Well,
is it the first match you've written with somebody else?
CBK and I worked together to a degree last year on the 3 Stages of Hell match. But we both just kind of took a different match because we had 3 matches rolled into one and did it that way. So this was really the first time that I had written one match with somebody else. And yeah, it was great. We spent a few days on the Discord just spitballing ideas back and forth, and let's try this. And Willis made the comment. He said, I want to do a spot where Steiner comes off the entrance and crashes and burns, and they put him on a gurney, and it's kind of going to be an homage to Mankind and Taker. And I was like, sweet, yes, that needs to happen. And, so we just kind of planned as many big spots as we could. And really, I feel like in a lot of ways we kind of winged it on mixing between them. So, but yes, the near ignition at the end was completely me just wanting to get a little AEW moment in there. But
well, they've stolen enough of our spots over the
right. See, I'm getting even. But yeah, I mentioned to Willis in one of our conversations about it. I said the one thing that I hate when AEW does the unsanctioned matches is that they've got a freaking referee. Like, if it's unsanctioned, what rules is he enforcing?
Well, I guess it's your interpretation of unsanctioned. Like, it could still be like a contest that requires officiating. Whereas,
But yeah, so I was like, let's do something. No ref, no pinfall, no submission. We'll do this thing until one of them can't go anymore. And then we just kept talking and kept talking through. We're like, oh yeah, let's let's do this ending instead. And we, knowing that there's a cremation match coming on night 2, definitely didn't want to have somebody get set on fire in the second match of the card.
Yeah.
But still wanted to have something where it would highlight the hatred that these two characters have for each other.
Okay.
And Russ now would come running out and be like, wait, you can't do this stuff that.
Yeah, which I think it played perfectly into because Tommy's character was upset with. He felt like Rush cared more about Brooklyn Steiner than he did him. So for Rush to run out and pretty much beg Tommy not to light my investment on fire, it's just like, okay, like, see, like, so now you have to raise my hand and say I won. Everything had meaning. Digging back to the start of the whole rivalry.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned,
except for the naked cowboy. That was a totally random moment.
That's just a little bonus addition. Willis, you mentioned Tommy being upset about Brooklyn, stealing his place, kind of thing, which came through in the segments leading up to the match, and also in Tommy's promo for the match as well. Talk about Tommy's promo, your thoughts on it, and also reflections on your own promo for this match.
I mean, Tommy's promo was amazing. I'm pretty sure all three of us can agree. What I liked about Tommy's promo, it showed a side that maybe someone who doesn't really watch wrestling, will see from their wrestler. Like if say, like, if you're watching the promo and you see, like, example, if your wrestler is Darby Allin, just to give a wrestler name, and you see him get hooked, he gets hooked on some bad stuff, and he starts he starts to show his evil side, because if you're hurt, I mean, I'm trying to, like, walk around this, what I'm trying to say, but it's like, like, painkillers and wrestling kind of go hand in hand. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't know how else.
Dark side of the ring,
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know how else to say that. I'm like, I don't want to seem like I'm trying to throw shade on the wrestling business, but I just feel like the wrestling business that we grew up on, they get hurt, they're up today, and then they're back on the road, and the pain doesn't go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he got to show that side of just, like, someone dealing with, like, the effects of just a grueling schedule, especially, for FWA, seeing how we travel literally all over the world. That's just what I like. That I like that it showed a side that, I don't know. I mean, I haven't read every promo that FW ever posted, but I think that's the first I can remember that someone having a drug problem and dealing with it, with the biggest show of the year coming up. So that's a lot of pressure.
I alluded to that in my review of it, that, like, maybe definitely in real life, that kind of story is kind of a cliche for a pro wrestler, but it's not something you see explored in the FWA very often. I think I definitely preferred this promo to the second promo, even though I think that one was, it was graded slightly lower than this one. I preferred his descent to the kind of semi redemption that he gets in the second one. I thought maybe a little bit longer of a window to explore, but maybe you still intend to explore the addiction side further. So
there's plans there.
Okay. Tommy, what did you think of Willis's promo centered around Brooklyn's father, Kirkman? You'll have to remind me of his second name, but Kirkman going to takes his boy along to an engagement, and at the end we get to see kind of like a window into Brooklyn's upbringing and his father's views on parenthood and that kind of thing before an on-screen centered around Tommy. What were your thoughts on Willis's effort?
Well, I mentioned in one of the promo reviews I did, I still have every intention of getting around to doing more of those. But I love promos where we get to peel back the layer and start to understand the why.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, anything to me that we can get in one of these, and yeah, okay, they're all fictional characters. It doesn't matter. The best fictional characters ever have a why. I'm a Batman fan. We know why Batman's a vigilante. It matters. So I loved getting to look back at an earlier stage of Steiner because, pretty much for me, most of what we knew about him was Hollywood A-lister said something stupid in an interview, got himself canceled. I'm still waiting to find out what he said. When I do, let me tell you. No, but there was one line, and if I'm probably going to butcher this, Will, so feel free to correct me. But towards the end of the promo, when we're, Steiner is basically just focusing on what he wants to do to Tommy, he said something like, "I'm going to paint the town red with your blood," or something like that. And I read that, and I was like, dude, that's what I was hoping we would get to. Because I told Willis pretty early on, I said, one of the coolest things that we can do in this, is take him from just being a face and everybody loves him and make him look like just an absolute willing to do anything.
Mm.
And yeah. Really enjoyed kind of getting to go from back earlier in his life to how much he hated Tommy Bedlam now.
So you've spoken about how it's built to this point, but now obviously Tommy also won the X4 spoilers on this set of shows, and Brooklyn has been announced on the card that went up earlier on to be in the tag team tournament. So are they drawing a line under this dispute after the? I mean, I guess there's not really far to go after trying to set someone on fire, is there? So.
Well, there's probably not, but I mean, my theory is now Tommy would have something that Brooklyn Steiner might want.
Okay.
Brooklyn Steiner had the attention and the adoration and all this stuff, and Tommy wanted it.
Okay.
Well, now Tommy Bedlam has a championship. So,
Willis, thoughts?
I feel like, I feel like it's wrestling. You can have any reason for a rematch, but I just don't think it should happen. At least not in a distant future, especially now that Tommy Bedlam got rebooted back to Prime Tommy. So I guess we'll see where it goes, because now it's pretty much a brand new season. We're post back in business, so now it's just the road back till the next back in business. And we'll just see how this goes, because going into the match, I wasn't really sure what Steiner's plan was going to back to business. I just knew I didn't want to be in like those like WrestleMania multi-man matches, or kind of like just to get everybody on the card. That's how I have a conversation with myself. Yeah, I talk to myself sometimes. I was like, you know what? If that's like the match I'm going to be in, I'm probably just going to ask them to just like sit me out. And then, just if somehow, life happens weird, and that's when I sent this segment to Tommy about when not from retirement or when I was walking away. And then he hit me back maybe a couple of days later. It was like, listen, I got this idea. Because it really started because when he wrote his goodbye, there wasn't that much crowd reaction. I don't know if that was on purpose, but then when I wrote mine, I put, everybody in Japan speaks English and starts chanting for me. So I was just like, I was like, that makes sense. Like that. Okay, see, now that's a program I can get behind and feel confident with going into my first back in business.
Okay. You mentioned it's your first back in business. Obviously, you joined the FWA towards the end of 2023, I think. So how did you find the FWA? What brought you to finally join when you did?
I mean, FWA was on WrestleClick, which I was on that site for a decade plus, and we also had CWA there as well. So it was always that like CWA, FWA, and I always, even though probably large scale of just life is probably stupid to say, but I felt like I was painted CWA colors. And I just felt like I've been part of CWA since 2009. I've world champion there. I'm in the Hall of Fame there. I've had 2 characters win the world titles. I'm just like, I don't know. I just, if like to make the jump was kind of, I was hesitating because I wasn't sure how I would like it, seeing how I pretty much only been CWA for most of my e-fighting career. So it took a good amount of time for me to like talk myself into just go for it. What's happened, you do RP, you don't like it, and and then the sun rises tomorrow. But then I was talking to my good friend Mr. Franchise, and I saw how much fun he was having, and he was talking to me about it, and the more he was talking about it, the more I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then the opportunity just never presented itself. I never had a character I was comfortable with. I had Jonathan McGinnis, but that was a character I really didn't want to revisit again. Like I remember I brought him back in a Brooklyn Steiner promo, and I was just like, I'm just so done with this character. It reminded me of just a time I just want to forget. So I was thinking about joining, and then I kid you not, I was on WrestleClick putting together a character for like Jonathan McGinnis's brother, and it was the most dumbest. Like it was like a Logan Paul ripoff. And then before I finished it, the site closes down. And I'm just like,
oh, we had to have it for the real Logan Paul. Before he happened, if the world had ended, we wouldn't have to deal with this.
So I was just like, maybe this is a sign that it wasn't meant to be. And then I signed up for Discord because that's where WrestleClick went to there, and I kind of just didn't really mess with that side. And then I got a message from Tig saying like, hey, if you're interested, we'd love to have you. And then I joined the Discord, and then I realized that me joining this EFED means I get to kill one of AON's characters. Let's see how this goes. Let's see how this goes. That was my driving point. Like I was planning on quitting after Funky Fedora died, but then I just started liking it so much. I was like, I'll stick around.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, you mentioned Franchise. Interestingly, he joined the forum today. I saw.
I thought that.
Which is cool. Yeah, I was thinking earlier today that I remember years ago in like 2016 or 17, you and Franchise doing a BTB that had like these really cool like video sections to it back on WC. You also mentioned your CWA character Jonathan McGinnis, and who was your other world champion? Was it Mr. Willis? Or
Yep, Mr. Willis. Yep. Yeah,
okay.
Willis.
So how long were you in the CWA for?
So I joined in, I'm gonna say 2009. I remember Franchise joining first, and then he messaged me. He goes, "Hey, I'm in this EFED, but don't join it because I don't want you to join because I want this to be my thing." And I'm just like, I wasn't gonna do it, but okay, since you kind of like said it that way, all right, let me join. And then I've the people with WrestleClick, I can't say nothing. I've made friends there that I have on my actual socials that like I see them and interact with them to this very day. So it's that was where I fell in love back with e-fetting because I did it maybe for like a year or two in like middle of high school, and then I just graduated high school, life got in the way. And then like 2009 is when I got back into it. And then unfortunately, I fell out of it again, and then then I'm here right now in FWA.
I remember you there in 2016, 17, Willis, with Jonathan McGuinness, and the feud with Snowman Tashi was one of my favourite things that were happening in that time period. Whilst I was there for a short period with MVH, but it's interesting you said about how you felt that you were kind of CWA through and through, and that was a barrier for you to come across. Because I know that AON felt the same about certain ones of his characters, like the Echo and Chubby Carlos and other people like that. But obviously, we're glad to have you finally come across to the FWA now. But anyway, that's enough of that CWA stuff. So the X4, Tommy, was originally Trixie Harrow's Bedlam. Johnson and Vengador. And first up, we have Trixie versus Aaron. Harrow is a very close match here. Obviously, Gip's promo not quite meeting the standards of his Back in Business promo last year. We didn't get a fuck Aaron Harrow's variant on this show. Instead, he loses to Trixie by no show. What were your thoughts on Trixie's promo, Tommy? I know you read it as one of your opponents.
I have been pretty open about the fact that I'm not a Star Wars guy. Never seen it. Legitimately, have never seen 60 seconds of a Star Wars movie. But I felt like, she did it in a way where you didn't have to be like a Star Wars aficionado to understand kind of what he was trying to do and stuff. It was more of an inspiration than just a full-on quote-unquote Star Wars promo.
Yeah, I definitely thought that as well. Like, I didn't know if he was parodying some of the more recent ones, which I haven't seen, but which I have seen, but only once. I wouldn't remember as well. But it didn't feel like he was like copy and pasting specific story. It just felt like a kind of general setting more than anything.
And I mean, just from basically not living under a rock for the last 36 years, I know some basics of Star Wars. So, like, it made it work for me. If there had been like a ton of specific movie, if it was based on Return of the Jedi or whatever, specifically, I wouldn't have known that. If there was a ton of direct correlation there, I probably wouldn't have understood it. But no, I felt like she did a great job with it. When I tell you that I was surprised that I won the X4, I mean that. That was not what I was expecting on that one.
To be honest, I had Trixie winning the X4
That's what I was going to say. Like, I didn't know if we were going to call out specific grades or not. But, I mean, you had Trixie winning it, and I agreed.
Yeah, I really liked a lot of the Trixie promo. I thought it was a fun setting. It was like Star Wars themed, but not like, as you said, there wasn't much of a specific reference point to Star Wars. There weren't many specific reference points like of Star Wars like in the promo. Just the general setting, and I liked kind of like the Python-esque humor of some of it as well. Like how there'd be a scene with handmaidens and then turn around to like a holographic pad or something like that. But yeah, I thought Welsh did a good job. I could do without the trend in promos at the moment. Seems to have long fight sequences that are described like event by event, which I could do without a lot of the time, unless it's like particularly inventive or done alongside kind of description or in a monologue that continues the character as well. But he did this, then she did this, then he did this. Is there seems to be a lot of passages like that in promos on this card. And that's
do you see it more like filler? Maybe that's why it's kind of just like they're trying to stretch this out.
I think so, and because they've written this whole story that's this many thousand words, they feel like the fight sequence at the end maybe needs to be equally as epic and lengthy, when it doesn't really. You can sum up the fight scene a lot better in a lot fewer words, or use the same amount of words to describe character feelings and emotions during the fight scene, rather than punch kick kind of thing. Which isn't to say she's the worst offender there, but I thought that was true in certain sections of this promo. But I still definitely had it as the winner. I mentioned earlier that I preferred the other Tommy promo. I liked both of them, but I would like to see more of a. I mean, you mentioned there's still plans, but more of a descent or more of an elongated descent. It's like in that film Boogie Nights where the first half where they're getting kind of hooked on the drugs and stuff is a lot more fun than the last bit where they
If
kind of like descent.
anybody says that they thought there would be a Boogie Nights reference on this podcast,
you know, with so many topics in that movie, I did not know where he was going with that.
The analogy kind of doesn't work because in Boogie Nights it's like the fun bit where they're all getting success in the first half, and then the second bit is where they descend into drug addiction. Whereas that is the bit in the Tommy promo that I enjoyed the most, I guess.
I'll laugh that there is one little nugget in the part 2 promo that I did do completely intentionally, and I'm going to be honest with you boys, there was some cheap whiskey involved while writing that. Really cheap. But there was one little phrase that's in there that I did not do for anybody but me, for continuity's purpose, that will come back around.
Okay. Well, I look forward to the future promos where that does come back around. But I thought it was a great effort with 2 promos on this one card. But yeah, the Trixie promo, I really liked it, and I think Trixie being rewarded with a number 1 contendership match on Meltdown is probably fitting because it was a really good promo, I thought. Willis, I think you said you'd read Welsh's promo as well.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
I feel like a lot of these like promos that's like based off of or based around real life IPs, at least for me, could be sometimes be a hit or a miss. I feel like sometimes it could be used as a crutch to like to keep what you're trying to say. Like, oh, it's kind of like, like I like Pokemon. And I feel like it's very just like a crutch. I feel like if we could pick a universally popular IP, someone might just like that RP better just because they like the IP that's it's centered around. But I feel like with Welsh's promo, you could tell it wasn't that at all. Like he's very well versed in Star Wars, and I'm kind of with Tommy. Like I think I only saw like 2 Star Wars movies, and like I was like dragged there as a child to watch them. But you could tell he's passionate about the Star Wars verse, and then you could see the way he put it together, the way he spent actual money to get the opening credit roll for his promo, to find out that multiple people on the Discord would have done it for free. So you can tell he's passionate about Star Wars, and he was passionate about the promo, and I feel like everything gelled well. He was able to get his point across for the match, and also the same well combined his passion for the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think predictions for Gabrielle versus Trixie on Meltdown 43? Tommy?
I know this is going to sound weird since, Tommy just beat Trixie. I feel like she's kind of riding a hot streak right now. And I know that, ETE just came off the match with AON and Gabrielle winning the Garden of Eden match and all that. I'm going to take Trixie Bordeaux.
Okay. I will take Gabrielle. I think ETE is going to put out another banger like the Carnal Contendership and take a big W here. Willis, you're going to have to be the decider. Prediction for that match.
I hate to agree with the man who set me on fire, but I think he's absolutely right. Like Trixie has just been it's been building. I don't think he's had a bad promo. I don't even know when, if ever, at least not from what I've been reading. And he's starting to fully grasp the character, and he has the understanding of the character, and the readers have an understanding of the character. I think that's what most people who when we write these things, like, yeah, we understand our characters, but does the reader understand our characters? And then that's when, once you get the readers involved with what your character's doing and what their motives are, then that's when momentum starts to roll and you start to get more confident. And then that's when, things happen. And I think Trixie's on a roll. And ETE is coming off. That was a very personal rivalry, Gabrielle had leading into back in business. So who knows where that character's mind is right now? Can she able to just refocus, and try to get the job done to become number one contender?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned character, but also I think another thing that might be an important factor in that match between Gabrielle and Lizzie Rose is the fact that the grading scale or the grading rubric is changing slightly in the next cycle. Match focus will be split away from quality content, and that's something that Welshie is usually quite strong at. Gabrielle was in this last match as well against Elizabeth Rose, but obviously there's a long-standing feud, and maybe on a more average week that might not be quite so much of a significant part of a Gabrielle promo, and so that might influence it as well. But moving on to the fourth match of Back in Business, fourth and final match for our part of the podcast this evening. We have Nova Taylor against Sawyer Xavier. After Trixie's victory over Aaron Harrows. So Nova and Sawyer. Tommy, this is another match that you graded. Do you want to give us your thoughts on these promos?
It is. This one was interesting. I'm actually going to kind of look here.
This was interesting. I liked that the Sawyer. I'll go first whilst you're
okay. Already. You and I were the only two that graded this one. So yeah.
I liked the Sawyer promo. It was kind of like a flashback, but also almost had like a dreamlike quality as well to like a family. I think it was a family dinner, which was a really good kind of context to use considering the opponent. Nova Taylor is part of Eternal, which is kind of like a family in a very cultish, dark kind of way. I thought it was a really strong effort by Blaine, rewarded with a number one contendership match on the next cycle. I liked Evie's promo as well with Nova Taylor. There were kind of issues, I think, with the match focus. I did definitely detract on that side of things, because although Sawyer was a prominent kind of character within the promo, it wasn't really Sawyer Xavier at all, like in anything other than name. And that was alluded to in the promo as well by BV, when she, in the promo, it's Kerry's kind of putting these images in her mind almost, I think, and she's asking why is Kerry's making this Sawyer type character act like this, which alludes to it being like maybe a plan or a plot by Kerry's, which again I think is definitely backed up by the segment that we have after the match on the show. But at the same time, that makes any allusions to Sawyer quite surface level in the promo, I think, and that is something that detracts it, especially when like the Sawyer in the promo is quite homophobic, misogynistic, which might be something that the Nova character has experienced in the past, and it's alluding to other male kind of interactions that she's had. But it did feel kind of odd and jarring to have them applied to Sawyer, when obviously Sawyer Xavier isn't really that kind of character at all. But I did think Nova was the worthy winner. I liked the promo a lot generally. I thought it was a good character promo. But yeah, I think in terms of match focus, I think it seemed like there was much more match focus than there actually was in the promo. Tom?
I'm immediately, I'm sitting here looking at the numbers that you and I both graded on that one, and yeah, I think when this next show cycle, when the new scale starts, that would have probably hurt both of these, because I enjoyed the Sawyer promo where he's flashing back and then back to present, and all the psychological stuff, and all what Blaine was trying to do, in the sense that when you're tied up with the whole Eternal torn universe, it's a lot of psychological warfare. So you've got all this other stuff going on, and I felt like that's what he was trying to do.
I felt that as well, and I think that came across. So I think that the Sawyer promo would actually do reasonably well on Match Focus because, the whole thing seemed informed by Eternal and Kerry's and Nova and the idea of family and like being lured into this like new family, his old family that he's left. So I thought the Sawyer promo was reasonably strong on Match Focus.
Possibly.
But yeah, not so much the Nova one, but in the old scale, I think the Nova one, generally the quality content was probably a little bit better just because some of the ideas, the character ideas, were more fleshed out. Sorry, Tommy, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. You're good. Absolutely.
Willis, what were your thoughts of the actual match, Nova and Sawyer? It was a back and forth match before Nova puts Sawyer to sleep with a mandible claw at the finish.
I thought it was a good match. I mean, because like someone touched upon it during the review for night one, how like the first two matches kind of like maybe were a little too similar in some regards. So for this match to be like it was a back and forth match. The better competitor won. It was it was great wrestling, and I feel like the match was written well. I think sometimes like a great just match written well is beyond it's beyond okay. It's like not everything has to be like the first two matches or the main event. It told a story relatively well. It was well written. I enjoy reading it. So I mean, the right person won. I agree. Yeah, I thought it was well put together. The spots fluently went well. Towards the end with the mandible claw, that was a great spot. That's such an underrated submission that I'm surprised not that many characters I've come across has the mandible claw as their finisher, because it's like you're literally strangling them from the inside of their throat. Like, it doesn't get more graphic than that. So I'll always be a fan of Nova Taylor's mandible claw, because I just like that submission.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a really, really good match as well. Good work by BV on the match right up, and a deserved win. And next for Sawyer is obviously his chance to earn opportunities to challenge for Tommy's X Championship, and for Nova it is the Elite Tag Team Classic, which I wanted to briefly talk to you guys about before Meltdown and Fallout. So yeah, we have an 8-person tag team tournament that's coming up. You are going to be in it, Willis, with Aaron Harrows, Reagan's character. How did that tag team come about?
So right after Back in Business Night 1, he messaged me about you reaching out to him about the tournament, and he was just something crossed the line. He didn't like. I think it was supposed to be him and Trixie, but he was like, I don't want to I want to do something different. So because we joked. We were always joking with each other, having such similar gimmicks that it's kind of crazy how like we're just not involved with each other in any way. And then that's when he was like, let's just the actors, let's make the actors. And I was just like, I mean, listen, I mean, I'm coming off, getting my skull cracked in, but a couple steel chair shots. I could use a tag team match to get myself back into groove. So I was on board. And I think I messaged Tommy just because I wanted to make sure before I agreed to do the tag. I was like, is there anything going on after this? Like, I don't want to like agree with Gip about doing this tag team, and then it's like, oh no, actually, we have this and this and this. So I was like, well, okay. Once I got the okay, I was like, all right. And now we're just arguing over what's going to be our tag team name.
Well, yeah, you posted it already. What was it? Really good actors in the.
Yeah, that's what I want it to be, but he hasn't agreed to it yet. But hopefully he'll come around.
Stubborn. Tommy, I noticed Tommy Bedlam is not amongst the people in the tournament. Is Tommy kind of burned by tag team wrestling after Chris Crow picked a new tag team partner and then disappeared completely.
Yes, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it doesn't help that in character Tommy has one friend and that's not around anymore. So, I guess he could trot Rocco out there with him, but he's old. So,
Who do you like?
I miss him.
Sorry, go on.
No, I just want to say that I miss Chris Crow. You can go
me
on.
too. We all miss Chris Crow. Of course, we all miss Chris Crow. Tommy, who do you like amongst the starting field of 7? Obviously, the 8th team is not announced yet, but of the 7 that have been announced, whose chances do you like?
I'm being 1,000% honest with you right now. I'm kind of looking through at what we've posted because my workday has been pretty much massive.
We've got the Undisputed Alliance. We've got Trick or Trash. We've got Conchu and John Lee Watkins. We've got Brooklyn and Harrows. We've got the Buddy System, Jeremy and Brian Baxter. We've got the Lumberjacks, and we've got Eternal, which is Nova and Kerry's. Obviously, with Elizabeth becoming Lizzie again.
Doug is going to be worked up after that. After back in business, Buddy System. Going to wreck everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't go on that because I know, a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes there.
Of course. Willis, who do you see as your biggest competition in the tournament?
I feel like that's kind of like an easy answer. Isn't the current world champion in this tournament?
That is true. That is definitely the.
There's another reason that the current ex-champion is up.
Well, it was like, wow, that's because it's Jeremy Best is his last name, because it's like whoever has to face Team Friendship is really in for a long day.
I guess that you're going for flattery there, maybe trying to assimilate yourself into the Friendship Wrestling Alliance rather than combating them. But I guess that is one tactic. Well, I guess we've been on for about 50 minutes now, so I think we'll call that an evening for episode 1 of this 4-part series on Back in Business. I'll be returning soon with the final 3 matches of night 1 with 2 brand new guests. But thank you for joining me, Tommy, as always.
Enjoyed it as usual.
Willis, was great to have you on and to hear a little bit about your kind of CWA history as well. We sometimes do kind of longer podcasts on the history of a handler. So that would definitely be something we should expand on in one of those. But thank you for joining us.
Not a problem, my friend.
All right. Well, I will see you all on the next episode, and that is the end of the podcast. Thank you for joining us.